Start?
I guess so.
Does it work? Hello? Does it work? No?
Does this need to be turned on?
I said it's not on yet.
Hello? Is it working?
This one? Doesn't work, but this one.
Oh, it's working now. Is it working now?
Check.
Okay. Good afternoon. It's 1:50 now, and we can get started. So this is interface to network security function. Just to brief what is this group is for. I think that lots of people are here before, but I saw some new faces. It's really be able to provide dynamic policies to network security functions, especially the virtualized functions, so that service providers can do workload bounded security policies, depending on where you instantiate the network security functions. You can dynamically set up your policies. When you move the function to a different location with different workload, you can change the policies. So the working group's mandate is to be able to come up with a proper data model for the controller to control those security functions. So here's the note well page, and hope everybody have read them. Let's go to the next one. It doesn't work. So here's some trivia. The charter has been posted, mailing list. So let's go to the note taker. We need people to help with the Etherpad. Thank you. Your name? Weepan. Thank you, Weepan. And everybody else, when you ask questions, please go to the Etherpad to put your questions, your name, affiliation down, so that make it easier for other people to see your questions. And if you see other people's note taking incorrect, please correct them. It's pretty simple and easy. Everybody contribute. So agenda has been posted, and we have wikis showing some of the implementation in the hackathon. Milestone. Okay. So we completed 2 RFCs already, the terminology, framework and problem statement. We have 1 document is on the IESG's desk waiting to be reviewed. It has been there for 3 months, and now we have a new AD, so hopefully we can go through faster. There's applicability. And there's we have a newly adopted working group draft. So together, we have those working group drafts. One is on the IPsec flow policies, and one's on the capability. That document seems pretty stable now, and hopefully after this meeting, we can call for working group last call. And then remaining are the data models for different of the interfaces. One is for the interface to the security function, one is the interface facing the client, and one is the interface facing the registration. Those three interface data model need to be moved forward. That's our deliverable. And we have this client interface requirement. That document has been installed, so we're looking for input if people are still interested in pushing this forward, or we can abandon that. Anything else? You want to add something?
You can go to the presentations.
Okay. So here's the agenda. Any people
Want to bash?
bash or want questions? No. And here are some of the bird eye view of all the work we have and to be delivered. So the remaining work for this working group is to finish the capability. That's the information model. And then based on that, we have several data models which have been becoming working group drafts. Hopefully we can resolve, converge, and finish it. And hopefully this is the last time we need a meeting to do that. Hopefully. Okay.
Can I?
Okay.
Frank Xia, I'm one of the co-authors of the capability information model and the data model. I just want to clarify some of the recent situation of this draft. For the capability information model, actually we don't bring a new updated version for this meeting. That's because we also think that current information model is relatively mature and stable right now, and because it is a basis model, information model for a lot of data model based on it. So, and we also have the data model based on it. It has been through a lot of several rounds of hackathon and interoperability test. So just want to say that maybe I want to ask the working group chair and if we can ask for the working group last call at this stage, because it's there's no new thing for the information model draft, and the data model we tend to have the same feeling. Yeah. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so please state your name when you talk in front of the microphone. Next one, that's it, right?
Yeah, we're starting with the IPsec remote presentation.
No, that's first is the hackathon.
Oh,
Hackathon.
Okay,
Hackathon.
fine. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
This doesn't work, so just tell us to.
Hackathon.
Hello, this is Paul Jung from Sungkyunan University, Korea. This hackathon is the 8th hackathon from IETF 97 through this week consecutively 8 times. So the goal is we try to verify our 3 major interfaces: registration interface and consumer-facing interface, and also NSF-facing. Especially registration interface is based on capability, Suzanne's data young model. So we verified those things last 8 hackathons. Also, this time we implemented the data policy translation. So my student Jin Hyuk will present today, and we believe this translator also very important functionality at security and translation, such as security policy, or as well as IPsec policy computation translation. So this is the build environment. This is NSF. Okay, could you, Linda? So Pete. Okay. Okay. Framework. Could you?
This one? No.
Next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. So this is the framework. I believe you guys are familiar with this work. So we, on top of NFV, based on the OpenStack, we implemented the I2NSF system, 3 interfaces. Next slide. Okay, this one. Okay. So especially we implemented a translator such as user providing security policy, and it translates, and then it can deliver low-level policy into NSF-facing interfaces, and then they can configure. Also, IPsec stop case also we not implemented yet, but we can easily accommodate IPsec stop. So IPsec high-level policy is given to this, such as user want to use IPsec IC case rather than IPsec IC list case. That kind of information given to this and they translate, and then it can configure easily. So this translator is very important for our working group. And this is the structure. My student will explain, Yang Jinhyuk will explain, so I can skip it. So also we can implement using OpenStack networking SFC for service function training for services. So we proved proof of concept, and also we designed a translator. Also, the hackathon project is open source project. So this is available, especially the translator also available. So any vendor such as Huawei, Juniper, Cisco, people can easily take advantage of this project. Also, we included a video clip how to configure, how to run our code. So that's it. Thank you. Yeah. Any question, comment? Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a very good piece of work. Thank you very much. And for people who are interested in using open source for doing the workload bounded policy, please look at those implementation and see if you can use them.
You get out of this.
I think.
Escape network. There. I think that. No, the big button at the top. I think this one is. Yes, no, that's the other one. No, that's not.
Presentation. Can you go backwards? Like this? Yeah.
So, this one, right?
Yeah. You do it that way. Go back. Go back. Like this. Go. Click on here. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, okay, I'll start. So next slide. So basically, just a reminder, we are defining in this ID an architecture and also the interfaces for the SDN-based IPsec management in a centralized way of the different IPsec security associations. In the current version, we have changed the name of the cases we have been discussing during the past meetings. Case 1 is now called IKE case, and case 2 IKE-less case. So remember IKE case when the IKE version 2 is in the NSF, and the IKE-less case when the NSF doesn't implement IKE version 2. So far, we have a description about the case of host-to-host and gateway-to-gateway. Road warrior is not considered in the current version, but we have some question in the final slide about this case, because as I mentioned, it's not included in the current version. Next. So we have, after receiving a very deep and extensive review from Paul Bowders, thank you for that review, and from the chairs. Actually, we have exchanged a lot of emails in the mailing list. We have divided the original YAM model in 3 parts for better reading, and in order to, modify easily the different comments we have received. We have a common module that contains common type def grouping that can be used in both additional models. One of them is related with the IGE case, which is IETF IBSEC IGE, and then IETF IBSEC IGLES. So basically the same original information, beyond the changes we have, comments we have received, is there, but just separated in these three modules. Next. So as a summary, we have the IBSEC common, where we have defined type def and groupings, which are common to both cases, I case and IGLES case. So, for example, we have defined there integrity algorithm, encryption algorithms. Now, following the discussion in the mailing list, what we have done is to import additional module, which is called netconf cryptotypes. So we don't need to specify on a specific number or a specific level the algorithms we are going to use. That was because there was some comment about what happened if this algorithm may change. So in our draft, what we are doing is importing another module, which is cryptotypes, that has been or is being defined in netconf working group. We have also changed the lifetime action. There was no clear explanation about that, and we have defined these three actions related with the lifetime. The description is in the draft. We have removed forward from the IBSEC traffic direction. We have only inbound and outbound. We also had the SPD mark. There wasn't any conclusion about what to do with that. So far, we have removed that piece of information. And regarding the lifetime, for example, we have used the typical type in Jan, which is timestamp. In the selector grouping, we have now a traffic selector. We have a list of IP addresses, and we have left and right subnet. And then in the processing info, we have clarified the usage of the AAD support. So next. So regarding the module related with the I case, we have redefined the concept of the auto start for the IKE implementation. We have included add, on demand, and start. We have needed to add PF's group. We didn't have that at the beginning. Also, from other comments, we have defined another type def about the authentication mechanism based on pre-short keys or EAP, or in general, digital signature could be used RSA or DSA or even null. And also using this type def, we have a container, which is an auth method that includes that information using authentication based on EAP, pre-share, or digital signature. In the same way about the common, in the specific case of IKE, we have also importing the IETF cryptotypes. And this is just an example. We have the signature algorithm type that is referring something imported in the cryptotypes netconf module.
Rafa, can we start a question here?
Sure.
Just for clarification, and when you said you removed the forward action and limited it to inbound and outbound, you didn't lose the functionality. You just have to have two entries, one for inbound, one for outbound, to be able to forward IPsec. Okay,
yeah.
Great.
Yes. Okay.
How can I give a comment? Okay, Frank Xia, I think that it's a good way that you just import the existing crypto types YAM model in the netconf working group. I'm also one of the contributors of that draft. But my suggestion is that maybe you should take a look at the current crypto type netconf YAM model, because that's a very big crypto types definition there. We currently include IPsec, TLS, and SSH. So right. Yeah, it's a big set for all the applications. Maybe I don't know the YAM how to write the YAM model, but my suggestion is that maybe there are some mechanism in your to support in your model that you can just pick a subset of that, the cryptotype YAML model identifiers, just for use for IPsec, right? Because some of them may be not useful for you, or you cannot use them.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah, I suggest you take a look. Okay.
Okay.
And Paul Wouters here. So one comment about the SPT mark that you removed. Actually, recently I was made aware of that there's a desire to have more SPD selectors happen in the future. For instance, people would like to set up a VPN between two UDP streams that actually are VXLAN IDs, and so they only want the one specific VXLAN traffic to be carried. So there's probably a few more selectors that might be useful to be added in the future. And the other thing is, I'm still really confused about the algorithm types and whether you use other documents to define them. I'm not sure if that other draft then lists the ones that are valid for IPsec or not. But my general concern here is that these types of documents basically put a snapshot copy of the IANA registry inside an RFC, and the IANA registry continuously updates. And so, for instance, because of this document, actually, we started something in IPsec working group to deprecate some of the older ciphers when we saw that other people were putting them into their documents. And I'm still sort of concerned, like, isn't there a Yang way where you can say the valid values of this keyword are in this and this IANA registry, and then leave it more, because someone who implements, whenever this becomes the RFC, will have a snapshot, and a year later, if they start implementing it from there, they're missing the latest algorithm, or they're implementing obsoleted algorithms. Like I would really like to just point to the IANA registry and say, for all the valid IPsec encryption algorithms, look there.
Yeah, that's actually we did this because this is the solution we take because in the end we understand it's moving the problem from our draft to another draft that is defined in another working group. But actually we need to investigate that. So because in the end you need to define some kind of, I don't know, integer or something to refer a number, saying this number would be, in the beginning what we have was a type def with several enum. So actually the comment was, what happened if something new appear or something is removed? Then you need to change the draft again. So I don't really know how should we refer that IANA registry. Maybe just adding an integer and then say, look at the IANA registry and just that, and the description, I don't know.
Well, the IANA registry...
open for suggestion, I mean...
Can I answer? Because I think this is a very good question. I think we need to solve this kind of general problem, not only for this draft. I think the better way is to solve this problem in the cryptotype YAML data model draft, because that's a draft that we want to make it a basic YAML data model document for a lot of application. IPsec is just one of them. So yes, I also hope so that there are some YAML mechanism that we can periodically track the secure crypto algorithms. So if they are still good, or if they are deprecated according to the under definition. So yes, I think because that draft, the cryptotype draft is still in progress and improving. I think we will take care of this problem and to consider how to solve this general problem in that draft. So that every other document that include that draft, import that draft, can do not need to consider the same problem.
Right. That was actually our approach. Meaning, okay, this is a problem that needs to be solved, and then there is some kind of draft trying to compile of the cryptographic algorithms, so they will need to update that. So the only thing we need to do is to import that draft and include it in our draft.
Okay, so just add one more comment here. YAML data model does allow you to make changes, expand and shrink. So we just need to pass this to the YAML doctor, and have them look into it. I know that several people I work with, they actually work on that. How do you expand the data model, increase and decrease? So we just need to do that.
If I may interpret what Paul was saying, because I was going to ask precisely for the same thing, having the possibility of referencing an IANA registry or any other, I mean, because in my proposal for going forward with the models goes precisely the idea of referencing from the young model, another young model of a piece of a young model. It would be interesting that we go to the young doctors, not to ask them about the particular value, but about the possibility of including references to values included in a registry, because that's the value of the registry, isn't it? So,
the obvious, not nice way of doing it is, within the IANA registry, triple dust is 3 and ASGCM is 20, and we can just replace the enumeration with a number, and then anything in the IANA registry is okay. I don't know if that's the way we want to do it, because then our RFC becomes very unexpressive. Just, well, this is a number and go to the IANA registry to see what it means, but it is future-proof.
Paul Wouters. So just to answer Linda, yes, I understand that you can update the document and change it, but then whenever the IANA registry updates, we have to write a new RFC document, which is like rather cumbersome if it's just for a few values. So I would like to avoid needing to do that.
I know there's a way to do it. I'll talk to the young doctor and come back to write on the mailing list on how to achieve that.
Okay. So next. So we have now in the grouping IC proposal, we have added something related with the lifetime about the IC SA security. I mean IC SA, because we didn't have any lifetime. We have defined hard and soft, and also after a comment, Paul's comment, basically we haven't defined no action related with hard, in the sense the action is always terminate. Okay, so that's also applicable to some comment about the related with the lifetime of the IPsec SAID. Regarding the container IC version 2, we have included there the container related with the PAD, so it's in the related with the IC configuration. And then we have a list of IC connections. So per each peer, we have a node in this list, and each connection has the different policies, a list of SPD entries related with that connection. So right now in the model, what happened is we define a connection with some between two peers, and then we define the SPD entries for that connection. If we define another different connection, and then we add the policy related with that connection. And then we have also a container, a list of the child essays, instead in the sense that we provide only information about the different SPIs that the IC implementation has created, but not additional information. Our question here in the general slides we have is whether we need actually more information than only the SPIs, or even information about the different IPsec security association that the IC implementation has negotiated. It's an open question we have in the next slides. So please go ahead. Next. So this is the model for the IC list. So we have defined the lifetime hard with no action, meaning terminate action. With IPsec security association is expired with a hard lifetime. Then we have to remove it, and we have simplified the container. I mean the model. So we only have the container for the SPD and the container for the SAID, and that's the piece of information that the controller needs to configure. And then we have 3 notifications: the expire, acquire, and then bad SPI. Actually, this is an old comment from that Paul mentioned in the past. So next. So we have now 2 slides about some open question we have. Right now, what we have is an SPD model with one policy, I mean one entry in the SPD, one policy, but multiple traffic selectors. Actually, that is defined in the RFC 4301. In the implementation we have seen, actually, what we have observed is we have one policy, one traffic selector. So our question is, should we simplify the SPD model with adding just one traffic selector? Another related question is, I think Paul mentioned this, is there any support for multiple traffic selector generated of SPDs in a single child essay? Right now, this is not supported. The reason is, our assumption is, this child essay should have a traffic selector wider than the policies that is associated with that single child essay. And our doubt is that is allowed in the standards. It was our doubt. So far it's not supported, but if it's okay to add it, we can do it. Another question, should we remove AH2 board? We have been discussing this internally, and we are okay removing. If the working group is okay, we can remove the H2 board, and then only keeping the ESP configuration. There was another comment about the encapsulation, ESP encapsulation, about the missing port entry, but actually we have a grouping saying we have source port and destination port, and so we are not sure what we missing, and that's why our question. You have a question, or should I?
Well, with chair hat off, former implementer on, I would say that a child essay should have one traffic selector, because when you try to support more, then you get interoperability problems, and it's really trouble. About AH, yeah, nobody uses it, so I'm very fine with losing it.
Okay.
ESP encapsulation, well, I'll leave the rest to Paul because he's a current.
Yeah.
All right, Paul. So that seems all fine to me. I just wanted to make you aware of another recent thing that we've been doing, is where we are installing multiple IPsec assays of the exact same traffic selector kind, because we are like binding them to a CPU. So we can have like 4 CPUs. We bind 4 identical IPsec assays to a single CPU. And then if that CPU generates traffic, it goes over that one IPsec assay. So for us, it's a way to get more throughput performance. So you could actually have child assays that are completely identical, but you want more than one. And I don't know how you can express that in your Yang model yet.
You're referring to the second bullet?
Well,
Or
sort
the
of the first and two. Yeah, the first 2 bullets sort of are sort of overlapping.
Yeah, right now, following, we have several policy. One policy can have several traffic selectors, and right now, each traffic selector associated with the policy will generate one IPsec assay with that traffic selector.
Right. So I'm saying that we have use cases where we have more than one identical child assay.
Okay.
So the only thing that will be different once we install it is like the SPI number, but everything else is completely
And the key,
identical.
hopefully.
Oh yes, sorry, yeah, and the key.
Yeah, but then if the SPI is different or is the same.
Yes, no, the SPI is different. Yeah.
So for us, or actually for us, that is a different IPsec assay, even though it has the same traffic selector, right? Because the SPA identifier is different.
No, the SPD identifiers are the same.
SPD identifier, meaning pointing to the same policy.
That's right. The policy is identical, except
Sure. Then you generate several IPsec assay.
Yes.
Good question. I don't remember. But okay.
Yeah, and one more question. I'm not sure if it's on your next slide or not. I think I convinced you to remove the IKE port being on the source and destination, and I would like to apologize and ask for you to put it back in. because there's actually use cases where people make Kubernetes containers that only get a very few UDP ports, and so they don't get UDP port for IKE, so they get like UDP port 660 to 680. And so then you need to pre-configure the IKE port on both the source and destination, what you expect, to actually set up a connection like that. So, but I'll send it to the list as well, but so we'll have to put that back in. So you were right, sorry.
Okay. So, okay. Go ahead.
Valery Smyslov, Alice Plus. I want to ask a question, a clarification, and probably one slide back. You said that you have a flag that after hard expiration of essays, it must be turned off and do nothing. Do I understand you right? So
yeah,
the
action meaning was because we defined like several actions in case we have a hard lifetime.
Yeah.
So the action now is terminate.
So
no multiple. Maybe the text is misleading. It's no multiple actions, just one action. It's
I understand, but what does the action delete essay and do nothing mean? What is it if it is traffic? USA will be created automatically, or what? Instead of rekeying?
It's a hard lifetime. So if it's a soft lifetime, then you rekey. If you receive a soft lifetime, you rekey. But if you receive a hard lifetime, you have tried before the soft lifetime, nothing happened, something wrong happened, and then you receive the hard.
I always rekey after soft lifetime, or there are some other conditions? Well, why I'm asking? Smart implementation usually rekey if there is traffic recently. If there is no traffic, there is no need to rekey. So it's implementation head on. So otherwise you will rekey indefinitely.
Yeah, it depends on the lifetime you have, because we have in terms of time or in terms of byte processed by the IPsec SA. So I guess you are referring to the bytes.
Okay. Do you have idle lifetime?
Yes, yes. We have time and bytes. Yes, not only time.
So thank you.
Your name.
Valery Smyslov, Alice Plus. I think I've told it.
So, sorry, Paul, just to clarify, there's a lifetime of the IPsec SA, but there's also what Valerie's asked for, an idle lifetime, so that you can say, like, if this connection has been idle for 30 minutes, just shut it down. But all of this happens in the soft timers. The hard time is really like all your regular processing hasn't happened, and this is the emergency. We must not do more encryption with the key, so the only action we have is to kill the SA, and that's why there's no action.
Okay.
Should we go to the next slide?
Yes. Well, no, just the previous one. Just one comment, because I stopped there. There was another comment regarding removing a name associated to a policy. We reflected that in our model because the RFC 4301 says that, but we are also fine to remove the name because that cleans the. Actually, I think Paul mentioned that that name was weird, but as I said, it's defined in the .RFC, so we don't know what to do. Maybe it's not useful to have a name for the policy, just that, in a practical sense. And the final bullet is the question is open question: should we include route warrior support or generate a new ID? Our idea in the current status and considering all the reviews we have received and taking into account we have host to host and gateway to gateway, maybe it would be good to have a separate internet draft. That's our idea.
I tend to agree that this should be in a separate internet draft. Well, for no other reasons that we are likely not controlling the road warriors machine with the SDN controller. It's usually a phone or a laptop or something that's not really under our control. So In that case, we're just configuring sort of a VPN gateway, and then it's different enough that it should be its own thing, I think.
Okay. So so next. So regarding the IKE case, right now we have the SPD entries, the different policies per each IKE connection with between two different peers. The PAD is more global, is outside that. Our question during the design of this part is, should we have the SPD at the same level of the PAD? Or is fine to have the policy defined per each connection? Also, here we have in the IKLES module, we have the SPD entry lifetime. Actually, we have observed in Linux kernel notification with a policy expire, and that's why we have a notification SPDB expire in IKLES. But what happened in the IKE case? Because that expiration will be managed by the IKE implementation. And the question if that would be useful to be reported to the SDN controller. So that's another open question we have. Right now, we only provide, the third bullet is SPI is a state data related with the ABSEC essays in the IKE case. The question here is whether, I mean, the controller needs to know anything about the IBSEC essays. Just maybe the number, I don't know. Because after all, you send the policies you want to the IKE implementation, the implementation will manage everything about the ABSEC essays. And regarding the IKLES, maybe this is related with the previous discussions. Right now, the relationship between entries in the SPD and the SAID is linked using traffic selector. The question is whether we should add a explicit pointer, like something like a reg ID, as you can may know in the IBSEC kernel, in order to link both entries, I mean the SPD and then the IBSEC essays. And just that.
Well, hi, you have me again, no hats. Well, when you do the IKE case, then IKE creates a pair of essays, one for the inbound, one for the outbound, and they're linked by virtue of having been created with the same IKE negotiation, whereas IKE exchange. Sorry. So it would make sense for the IKLES to have the same thing, where, especially if we do the multiple parallel essays that Paul talked about earlier, you have multiple parallel pairs of essays, and you want the pairs to be connected to one another. Well, partially because some of those VPN implementations are also firewall implementations, and then they want to have the connection the packets of the connection go through the same pair, because it makes things easier for them. So yeah, I think even in the IKLES case, you should add to each SA what the paired SPI is, so that if that makes a difference for the kernel, then the kernel should know about it.
Okay, so you're
even in the IKLES, you make a pair of SPIs, one for inbound, one for outbound, or you make several pairs like that. So the pairs should be connected to one another, the same way that they are with IKE.
Sorry, but you said maybe connect them with the parent SA, with the parent SPI.
No, not with the parent, with the peer SA. Or we don't really have a name for the other side of the SA, but yeah. So yeah, I think the NSA should contain the SPI of the other SA that is created at the same time.
So this is okay, but this is then a different. This is a different comment as this one we have in the slide, because what we were referring is if the SPD entry, I mean the policy, the SPD, and then you have the IPsec essays. Usually, for example, you have in Linux kernel, you have the reg ID, like you can use that like a pointer to the between the policy and the IPsec essay. So the question is, we don't have that kind of link. We had in the past that kind of link, but right now we say, okay, this policy has traffic selector, and then you have the IPsec essay that has traffic selector. So the relationship between the IPsec essay and the policy is based on that traffic selector. The other thing you mentioned is that one inbound SPI has like a related outbound SPI, and then we should reflect that relationship. Is that correct?
Okay, I see what you mean. Is this reg ID part of the SPD that you send it to the Linux kernel?
It's something that you can include if you want. Yes.
So I guess it makes sense to link them, and I'm sure there's a reason why it's there. So might as well tell them.
Okay. Okay. And so next and last slide. So we would like the reviewers that have checked the draft take another look to the draft in order to see if they are okay with the changes or the main changes, and then we think the document should be ready for the working group last call. We would like to thank again to Paul, because he did a really amazing review of our draft, and we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So last time at the I2NSF meeting, we promised a beer or fancy coffee to whoever makes the best review of this document, and obviously Paul wins. You can redeem your coffee wherever you want, as long as it's. He says he doesn't drink beer. Okay, so you sure you're Dutch? Okay, anyway, so yeah, so do the people in the room think that the document is ready for working last call? Because we kind of think so. So anybody have something to say that no, it's not ready for last call, other than that Paul needs to re-review the new version? Yeah, right. Good. So I think we'll wait a week after the meeting and then start a working group last call, and hopefully we can get this done by the next IETF, because we are hearing a lot of noise from the industry of people who want this, both within the IETF and outside the IETF, because people want to deploy IPsec, mainly because their TLS working group is not letting them break TLS, so you might as well fare better with IPsec. Yeah, we'd like to get this finished, and hopefully before the next meeting.
Thank you.
I have a question. David, you have this IPsec a rekey mechanism. How does that work with this mechanism? Did it any conflict, or is it complementary? Mike.
So, hi, David Carroll. I think it could be complementary. I had talked in the past about trying to write up a case 3, and I have not made the time and done that. And so it's not ready. I could bring something forward at some other point soon, but I don't know. I think at this point, this document seems ready, and I wouldn't want to be holding it up.
Okay. Okay.
I'd ask you, thoughts from you, but I don't think holding it up would make sense now if this isn't ready.
So my question is really your rekey mechanism. Does it apply to both IKEY and IKEY-less cases? Does it applicable to both cases, or only one of them?
It's different than both. It's
different.
not doing an IKE, but it's not IKE. It's IKE-less, but it's not the same as the IKE-less.
Okay.
It's still doing, there's different messages that need to be sent back and forth. Some of the things, the SPD and the pad are a little more similar to what's done in IKE, but it's not the same.
Okay. So when do you think you can write something up? Doesn't have to be included in this draft. It can be independent ID.
I'll write something up separately
Okay.
before the next meeting.
Okay. And also about the child, here we have the one child per essay. For your case, you could have multiple child, right? Essay.
Yes.
So how is that aligned with this one or conflicting with this one? Any problem with? But anyway,
I'll think about that.
okay.
I don't know.
Thank you.
David, can I? Okay, I have another question about this document and maybe the option 3. Current document is about mainly about the configuration young data model for the IK and IK list case, and I'm not sure whether another solution. I think that solution's content is mainly about the key distribution mechanism for the SD-WAN or SDN controller scenario. So is it also does it also include some data how to configure the point to achieve this key distribution? So I mean, my question is, currently the young data model defined in this document, can it be directly used for the other options, or is there some confliction, or they're missing something for other mechanisms?
For other, but in terms of key distributions?
Yes, yes. Do they? I think they still need to do some configuration for achieve their key distribution goal, right? So does all of that configuration is already in your draft, and there's no confliction between you and the future possible solution?
The solutions here are very simple. In the I case, you send credentials to allow the IK authentication, and in the case of the I class, you are sending the IPsec SA. So in terms of key distribution, you are sending the cryptographic material and algorithms. You need to establish the IPsec SA. So I don't see any conflict. Actually, it's a young model, could be extensible, but I don't see any conflict. Actually, as I said, the idea behind this draft is fairly simple. You configure an IPsec SA, then you send all the parameters you need to configure the IPsec SA in the case of the I class case. And when you have to perform IK, then you send credentials about authentication in IK in the first phase 1, or the authentication of the IK SA. So I don't see any particular, if I understood the question, of course.
Yeah, thank you, Rafa. I think you have persuaded me. Yeah, I think your proposal is very direct and simple. So I also right now I also cannot see any conflicts. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Paul Wouters. So I'll try to sync up the ideas. So what I think is the case is that in the distributed IK cases where you still do an IK exchange between two security controllers, but then some of the values are only transported in a sort of similar to IKList case to the nodes that actually use it. And in this case, it means that the nodes actually only know the private key and not the security controller. So there might be some additional configuration needed, like, I'm proxying IKE for this other IP address. But those are like a few minor options that I think can be grouped into like a separate document.
Okay. So you're referring to the communication between two SDN controllers, right? Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Rafa.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, what's next? Capable. Back in the back one. Yeah, just the back.
Hello, this is Paul Zhang. This document is about the applicability of I2NSF into the real world. So after working on REST core, the area director, Eddie Lascola, gave 3 major comments. The first one is it is insecure if we allow DMS, developer management system, accesses its own network security functions in real time. So our document clearly mentioned that DMS is not allowed to access the NSF online. The only access is allowed by the security controller. Secondly, the XML example required for concrete example. So we provided the time-based firewall. So we provided the code. The third one is, so we clarify how to tell if a given software element in NFV environment, such as NSF, running on top of a VNF, or just virtualized switch, such as the SDN switch. So we have a VNF onboarding system in manual system, so we can easily clarify using the description of a capability of a VNF. So we can easily resolve it. So those 3 things are addressed in the revision. So we believe this is ready to submission to ISG. So hopefully, working group chairs can move it forward. Okay, thank you. AD.
AD.
You AD? Who is AD? Okay, AD. Okay, hi. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we addressed the comments. You can move forward. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So if there is no question, move out data models. Okay, thank you.
Security policy.
Oh no, data
This one?
young model. Yeah.
Young model.
Young data.
Yeah. So this slide includes 5 data young model. The first one is Susan's capability data young model. This is the basis for the other young models. And also we have 3 major NSF interface and consumer interface and registration interface. So also we have a monitoring interface to regulate NSF. So this time we synchronize among 5 young models. So also we verify the last, including this IETF104 hackathon project. We 8 times we verified the interoperability and also functionality of our young models. So the major update of the thing is, the first one is those data young models are synchronized with Frank Xiao's NSF capabilities information model. So also during working group adoption call for NSF monitoring data young model, OPSA working group, some person are providing valuable comment. The first one is revision of our data young model according to the young guidelines, such as RFC 6087. So we synchronize among 5 young model. Especially, we added this time 3 examples XML file. One is data security, such as firewall and time-based firewall. The secondly, content security, such as web filter, VoIP, VoLT security. The last one is attack mitigation, such as HTTP or HTTPS flood attack mitigator. So those the concurrent examples are provided to help developer how to use our data young model in real security services. Firstly, the capability data model. So we revised and structured. There is no major some changes in content. So we followed the guideline for young, so 6087. So we followed these guidelines. The secondly, NSF-facing interface data model. Also, we restructured, but there is no content the major change. But we added three scenarios. Firstly, the web filter during work time. Secondly, malicious VoIP, VoLT, the call. And thirdly, mitigation of HTTP and HTTPS flood attack. So you can see this, I just to show a time-based firewall. So time-based case, we specify during work time, such as you are the employee. So you cannot access Facebook and or some YouTube during your work time, right? So in that case, we specify time range. And also, this is the SNS IP address, and such as Google, YouTube, and Facebook, something like that. And then we can find out advanced security, such as a web filter. So we're providing service function training. So firstly, the firewall. Secondly, this packet forwarded to a web filter network security function. So network security function, such as a web filter, investigate the content, such as URL. If this is related to Facebook or some YouTube, it drop. So we provide the XML example for firewall and web filter. Thirdly, consumer-facing interface. The consumer-facing interface is providing to I2NSF users, such as a security administrator, specify high-level security policy, such as during work time, employee cannot access SNS website. That kind of high-level policy delivered to security controller. Security controller translate using our translator, and then NS-facing interfaces can be used to deliver that. So previous slide showed the firewall and web filter scenario. So this time we changed as follows: the detailed description for each object in data model, and also we use the grouping to reduce the repetition of the common part, and also we provided a more generic data young model. So this is an example. So you can see the metadata IP address. The metadata has a name and also date. That one is just has a mnemonic name meta, and that this one can be used rather than name. Data is many places required this one, so we can group like this. Also, IP address case, also we can exact matching over range matching can be provided using this grouping feature. So also generic data model. So the firewall, this is data security, DDoS attack is the attack mitigation, other custom condition, threat condition. Threat condition especially is from the OS's standardization, the body. They are working for structured threat information format. So we also take advantage of that file type and signature information for content security. So in the same way, we providing concrete example, XML example, such as we can, you can see, generate high-level policy. You can see during this time, employee cannot access this SNS website. So employee, we can specify employee address, and also the SNS websites rejected by this firewall VNF, SNF. So you can see this website can be listed up like this. So we can easily specify high-level policy. And then, firstly, restoration interface. Restoration interface case, this time we just focus on the last meeting, Diego mentioned the lifecycle management is out of scope, so we get rid of them and just focus on restoration. And secondly, the quality. Certain cases, some high-level policy is given to security controller, but there is no registered NSF. In that time, security controller contact contacts the developer management system to ask whether such as NSF exists or not. So that kind of code is provided. So we revised structure, and also we added some the description for Yang tree diagram. Also, we also provided the XML examples. So one example is general firewall. So firewall case, you can see the protocol address, port number, and also we specify the possible actions. This is a firewall feature, and also we can providing the performance, the criteria, and also access information. This NSF firewall IP address is like this, and port number is like this. So security controller can have this information to provide security service for users. So, and then fifthly, NSF monitoring data model. So we merged the information model and the data model, and also we restructured according to guideline for Yang data model, and also we replaced the enumeration type with the identity type for scalable components. So, okay, that is the summary of changes of 5 data Yang model. From now, I briefly describe the discussion with Diego and Frank. So Diego will explain in detail the last of this session. So he explains. So, but I briefly explain why why need this kind of data model convergence, such as IPsec. We just discussed. Rafa explained, right? So in that case, certain new data model is required. So how to accommodate in our data model? So the approach is we can use a reference to that concrete data Yang models. So especially the IKE and the IPsec, IKE or IKE list cases, we can easily specify using one identity reference variable. So for example, so Linda, could you move? Yeah, you can see. So this is a capability data model. So when the developer management system register the firewall into the security controller, we can specify this kind of IPsec method, such as IPsec case or IPsec list cases. And the registration interface can specify concretely, so such as this NSF support the IKE list case, so we can easily. And then we can providing this kind of selection of IKE list. The security controller can tell the security NSF facing interface which kind of IKE method is used for NSF. So next steps. So we believe last 8 hackathon project, those especially the Susan's capability data model and 3 major the interfaces Yang model are pretty mature. So we believe we can last call those 4 data Yang model draft, and then monitoring case still we need to more some efforts. So next hackathon we implement and we can prove the concept. Okay, that's all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions on this? So lots of information here. So Diego, you had some slides about the discrepancy. So is that resolved?
No. It's as there is no discrepancy. It's just a proposal.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Diego, maybe quickly present. Yeah.
Okay.
Model convergence case.
Okay. So I think that we need to discuss this.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it should be easy once that Paul has done all the job. Basically, the idea simply is that where should I point? Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have the problem that we have a slow convergence of models and interfaces. Is something that is happening because we started with a capability model, but then we had to let's bringing them down to earth and make the real data models. And there was a divergence of how the capabilities were were behaving, and this air conditioning is killing me. How the capability model were working and interacting, or intending to interact with the different data models. And well, for some reflections, the point is that the capabilities make sense at the policy level when you are going to register them, to announce it, because all the ideas precisely that we are basing the whole thing is that the functions announce their capabilities, and that the security controller can manipulate them. And this makes sense in, well, what is the security controller northbound interface, the consumer facing ones. But if you go down to capabilities and to try to make all the manipulations with the capabilities, it's well, basically can become a nightmare, because going capability by capability, taking into account that the functions need to be managed with concrete data models, modifying their parameters and everything, is something that would require either translators at each function. That doesn't make sense if you think about it, because it's difficult that many of the functions that are already available will be start building translators from capabilities down to their configuration. Or the other thing is that it's a translator that is almighty, that knows everything, that can translate capabilities into all the different kinds of models that network security function could follow for being managed. And well, something that helped at least myself in understanding the problem is when it comes to this, precisely the IPsec controlling model that is brand new, how you incorporate it into the current model. So, trying to look for a solution, the idea would be precisely to decouple the policy from the actual management, and use precisely the controller as the source of the translation of translating these policies into action. So the idea is that with each capability, whenever a function declares a capability, registers a capability, the idea is to say, well, this capability is associated with this particular model. Ideally, not with a whole model, but with a fragment, or even, if you like, with a particular variable inside that particular model. But this is one of the things that I would like to ask the young doctors, because I'm not sure that this can be fully done. And the idea would be to say, this is the way in which you have to manage this capability. I have the capability of managing IKE negotiations using option 1, and so you have to use this piece of the junk to do so. This association, the natural way is that we keep the capability model without being touched. And what we do is that we make this association whenever there is a registration. So the developer, the vendor who knows about it, they say, well, I implement capability X, and to activate and control capability X, you should use this piece of this model. So it should be an extension to the registration interface, and would translate into a registry of models that are applicable for the set of capabilities that the controller knows about. And well, that implies that the security controller would have to keep a registry of models and associations. Is a database. Anyway, should have to keep a database of the capabilities, so it's extending the capability database, and rely on this registry for policy translations. What makes a recent proposal that Paul made precisely about the policy translator, so it will be part of the security controller. Well, probably in the draft about the policy translator, there should be a reference to the capability registry. The means, well, basically, I mean, and this is something that I must say, this is an idea while flying here. This is an idea that elaborated a little bit talking with Paul and Frank during the hackathon. So probably there are a lot of problems inside, but the idea is that we should send the registration interface, I mean, the registration data model to put a mechanism to announce this reference to the management model. We have to decide what to do with the NSF facing interface, because if we transform the NSF facing interface to a way of using Django to modify the functions using the registry, either we think that is a wrapper and that inside is the data model, or either we don't need any data model at all because we are going to use the reference ones. This is something that we have to think. And again, it's more about the tooling using Django than anything else. Well, we need to refine this, essentially. And well, yes, I know this is a very rough idea. Let me say, but I think it's important, I mean, for making this advance and making this advance as fast as we can, because otherwise we are risking to get stuck in a situation in which we have the IPsec draft moving, let's say, in the wild, not aligned with the capability model and all the like. And as Joaf said, there is a demand for it. And on the other hand, all the basic concepts around the security controller, the interfaces and all the like, being completely left isolated just for playing a little bit with the idea of the capability. With this way, we keep the capability model for reasoning and for making the smart decisions. And we guarantee that the whole thing becomes a framework that can be extended and will allocate in the future new models. And we don't touch, I mean, and this is very important, that since we are only affecting one draft, well, two, the registration interface and the NSF facing interfaces is something that is, I guess, doable and can be aligned in a reasonable time. And for sure, the devil is in the details. Maybe that we end up finding something that is completely impossible. I hope it won't be the case, and probably we'll have to rely a little bit on the help of the young doctors.
Frank Xia, thank you, Diego. And a little complaint about it's a new idea, but I think about it and we discussed it. I think that's a way to achieve the consistency about the current so many data models to reach a consistency between them, because we have a long time, we have a consensus in the working group that the capability data model and the information model capability is a very key terminology or the basic block for the whole extended interface data model. So we must figure a way to make all this data model to be in a consistent way. So this is a good solution, or is a good way to achieve this or guarantee this. And I also think that this is also a flexible way, because currently we have IPsec is an example that IPsec data model, how to comply, how to align with the data model, capability data model. And maybe in the future, there are other data model, policy model for the network security function management. So I think we should, as soon as possible, we find a way to provide this kind of flexibility to add the future new data model in our the general model. So this is a very good way. So the only problem is that does it will bring a big influence or change to our current data model? We have considered it to some degree. I think there will be no big influence on current data model. There will be some minor change. I hope so. So I think it's worth to consider more and try and solve this problem. Yeah.
Just as a reflection, thanks, Frank. What we had to do as well is to talk with Aldo and John about this, because they are not here. This is something that we have, and well, we have to share this with them. I hope they will be I think this will be acceptable for them because it doesn't affect the capability model at the end. It doesn't change the principles.
So this is the Paul Zhang from SKKU. So yeah, I think the Diego point out a very important issue. So during a hackathon project, Diego, Frank, and I discussed this one. Also, I discussed with my student how to implement this new suggestion into data model. So my group discussed it during weekend, and then my previous presentation, we can conclude the identity left can be used because the NS facing case, we can have an additional variable for identity left, and then we can easily import the NAFA's IPsec, the data young model easily. So I believe, yeah, we can easily. So my conclusion is this one doesn't affect much about the capability, so we can easily extend, data young model for capability. Yeah.
So I do have questions. Just seems like this proposal is uproot the entire data models we've been done, right? So you're saying that we need to change the structure.
No.
Like the registration interface data model and being imported by the
Only the registration interface.
only the registration.
So the idea is that in registration, when you register a capability, you will use the same thing. Everything will be equal, though, but you will add a reference. Say, my data model is this one, and you put that a reference. We had to discuss, or we had to find whether how this reference can be constructed in the best possible way in terms of referencing, being able to verify, etc. But it's a reference. You say, hey, it's a little bit, and this is what I was asking before. It's a little bit what Paul was asking about the IANA registries. Something similar. It's to say, look, here I want to use that thing, basically.
So does that mean that, my question is it doable? Seems it's a good idea, but is it doable?
Yeah,
We
doable.
believe so.
We think so. Yeah, and also, if working group agree at this proposal, my group already modified the data young model. So after our meeting, we can upload the revised draft. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Roman Danilio. Maybe I'm asking the same question that Linda is. I'm trying to reconcile what we just talked about here with the previous presentation that said we're ready to go to last call because we think we're done with the 4 other things.
There is only one. I mean, there are 2 data models that. I mean, the capability model is not going to be touched at all. And this is one of the things that we were trying to find a way of solving this because the capability model, I don't know if you have gone through the document, but it's heavy. It's something that is difficult to deal with. And so the capability model is not to be touched. The registration interface should not go for last call because we need to make this modification. And we have to open a reflection time for the NSF facing interface. All the rest, I mean, we're talking 2 documents that we need to reconsider. The rest are ready to go. As far as we can tell, because it's something that's...
So the 2 documents, one is NSF facing?
NSF facing and registration model.
So do you think you can get it done before next week meeting?
Next week?
Next week will be better, yes.
well, you know, why not? Tomorrow.
I guess most practically, I was concerned you obviously going to resolve that before you take whatever document that's going to get modified into the last call.
No, exactly. And sure. No, and this is something that we, as I said, the Jang GATS is something that I would like to check with the Jang doctor because.
So the plan is after this meeting, maybe a month or so, if you can update the document.
I hope so.
And then circulate. We're going to circulate to a few more reviewers, and then hopefully we can get it ready for working group last call.
Yeah, and Montreal will be beers and celebrations. And
we're going to have a celebration in Montreal, right?
Poutine for all. That's No, and something that I now looking that Rafa and Gabi are there and Fernando. one of the ideas I would like to use as a touchstone, precisely the integration of their model here.
Thank you.
Rafa, are you okay? I hope so.
Ralph is gone. So the translator will be part of the.
Okay, okay. Sorry.
Sorry?
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So the next one.
Is there a next one?
There's next one. This one. This is part of the controller. Diego was talking about being part of the SDN controller.
So let me start.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
So hello, I'm Jinhyuk Yang. I'm from SKKU, and I will present about security policy translation in I2NSF. Then here is the two types of sentence. The first one is the policy for I2NSF users, and second one is policy for NSF. So in I2NSF user case, they can easily generate the first sentence because it's user kindly, but second one isn't when the I2NSF user doesn't have any expert knowledge of security. However, in NSF case, NSF cannot recognize the first one because the data of that first sentence is really abstracted. So even if I2NSF user gives the first high-level policy, then I2NSF system needs to automatically translate it into the low-level policy. Yeah. So actually, for translating the XML-based policy, actually, XLCLT is popular method for doing that. So in sysrepo, for example, sysrepo is for implementing the using the netcomp server. Yeah, but it's really popular, but it has some limitation. First, it's really difficult to construct the security policy when they have no other expert knowledge, and it is really inefficient for managing the network system. So we propose the automata-based policy translation, so we can solve the two kinds of limitations. So here's our translation architecture. So our purpose is when I2NSF users sends a high-level policy to our security controller, then we can select the proper target NSFs automatically and translate the high-level policy into the low-level policy and send it via network security function-based interface. First, we should extract the main keywords in high-level policy based on the consumer-facing data model. Then we should specify the abstracted data because NSF cannot recognize the abstracted data. And also, we should find the proper NSF automatically. So we extract the unique capability for each NSF. So when the policy data has some unique capability, then we can select the appropriate NSF automatically, just like that. Then after select the proper NSF, then we should construct the low-level policy by using CFG is one of the automata theory. So the previous draft was the version 2. So actually, the explanation have been added for explaining the NSF database components. And also, implementation consideration section is added for providing the great guideline for developer. So security policy translation is the core function for I2NSF implementation in the real world. So for emphasizing this draft, so I will introduce one draft RFC documents. It's RFC 8075. It's about the mapping implementation between HTTP clients and co-app server. That purpose of that draft was just attaching the HTTP client and co-app server for exactly IoT network. So that was a really necessary function in their work, and they gave the guideline for mapping, constructing the environments, and such the other things for implementation. And it's successed to be the RFC documents. For that case, so this draft can provide the I2NSF developers with the great guideline to implement and mapping and constructing the security controller. So we already had a lot of approach in this working group, but there are no guidelines for the security controller exactly. So we are aims this draft at the informational RFC, and we already proved through the IETF104 hackathon.
So can I share my opinion? So I am Paul Jung from SKKU. I am also the co-author of this draft. So as you may observe, the translation is very important, especially the LAPA's IPsec that high-level some policy given to the security controller from I2NSF user. So our translator also deals with that kind of the policy, which means IKE or IKE list case is translated and then easily imported into NSF. And also security policy for security functions such as firewall, replicator, and other DDoS attack mitigation case. The high-level policy is delivered to security controller from I2NSF user administrator. So we can easily translate using this framework. So this document is more likely architecture and also some procedure rather than some implementation detail. Even though we have a guideline for implementation for developer, but we aim at informational RPC like the core working group has 8075 is mapping from HTTP to CoAP. So in the same way, I believe this document is very useful for our working group work in the industry. Thank you.
So the RFC is 85?
8075.
8075.
It is about mapping implementation from HTTP to CoAP protocol.
Frank Xia, I think, I agree that this document has some value that it can provide the guidance for the working group to do the translation functions internally in the security controller. I don't disagree in that its value, but based on the example you show here, I think my personal feeling that you may misunderstand the latest security functions implementation. For example, right now, a lot of network firewall devices, whatever we call it, maybe we can call it a next generation firewall, right? A lot of this kind of security devices has already provided a lot of application layer information to manage them to directory. For example, we can direct configure them by using the user information, the user group, and the application name or the service name. So that means that so those work do not need to be provided by the network security controller. So if all of your content in this document is about to translate from this for this kind of information, I don't think it's very useful for current very modern security device. So otherwise, if you provide a very high level architecture to explain how to do this abstract translation functions and what is architecture, what is the general method, I think they are helpful.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Diego Lopez again. It's just that I want to take some more time before you go for coffee. Simply is that, well, I at the beginning when I first saw this proposal, this document, I thought it was a sort weird to have in the group. Right now, taking into account the recent proposal about the registration interface and all the like, is something that it makes much more sense to me, precisely as an information RFC, because it's one of the, let's say, is the new functionality that the controller should have, precisely in this mechanism of translating from the capabilities up to the models. Well, to some extent, just to acknowledge that the idea was somehow inspired in this document. So, well, I think we should go for it.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you. Okay, no more questions? Then we can finish our meeting early.
Yeah.
Is it early? Well,
Yeah.
20 minutes early.
20 minutes early. First time.
Yeah, first time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, ask questions. You can.
So let me cancel. So Linda and Yao. So this work, I think one of very the key functionalities. So do we adopt a working group document or not the mailing list?
What do you think? Can we adopt this to a working group? It's almost like a best practice.
Yeah, the
common
information on
practice,
RFC. So
right. So maybe you can talk to AD about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I see some other working groups have those best
Okay,
practice
okay.
and RFC. So
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
thank you. So we should end, and hopefully by Montreal time we finish everything and then celebrate.
Yeah.
Conclusion about the working group.
Yeah. Has everybody signed the blue sheets? I think there's one at the back of the room. So if not, we'll see you in other meetings, hopefully.
Thank you. I have a question for you.
Where is blue sheet? Yeah, there's one in the back. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.